Welcome back to the Triple Crown Champ, back like I never left. And today we are talking about Friday Night SmackDown from St. Louis, Missouri. So, as always, let's get into it. We start the show with the Randy Orton promo, and this led to Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee's back. What you doing, Pat McAfee?
What did the five fingers say to the face?
What?
Slap!
Huh? So it would be revealed that the person Randy Orton has been speaking to on the telephone was, in fact, Pat McAfee. I thought it was Stephanie McMahon. I thought that would have been a beautiful storyline. I thought that would have been something with a spin and a twist. But in fact, it was Pat McAfee, not Stephanie McMahon at all. What? I don't quite understand why they've done this as WWE. I think it's something with Pivot.
Here we go, pivot! 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 Pivot!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Again, I find a lot of situations at the moment with WWE seem to have an idea, they run with the idea, and then they fill in the blanks later. I can't say with 100% certainty that this is what the Masked Man storyline was, but I definitely feel like this is what the Pat McAfee storyline was. It's almost like the old story of the whodunit being the Stone Cold, who hit Stone Cold with the car. And in fact, if you've ever heard the old story around that, it was that they didn't know who done it. And not kayfabe, they didn't know who done it. I mean, throughout the year, the WWE themselves didn't know who did it. They just had to write someone in as the culprit to who done it later on, and it really didn't make sense. So yeah, much like the Who Done It storyline, I think Pat McAfee has been put in as this role. Whether he can perform it or not is to be seen. There's a lot Pat McAfee can do. Coming in as kind of a heel manager is not the worst idea in the world. So let's see where it goes with this. Let's not count Pat McAfee out right now. Let's see where he goes with it, because quite frankly, we haven't really had amazing, great managers for a while. If you look really and truly, Paul Heyman, and then there's no really big managers that kind of made it. People have transitioned and tried a thing, but it didn't necessarily always work. And in there, I even mean people like MVP. MVP has done it, I think, very well. And I think he's someone who respects a lot of the old managers in wrestling. He respects the business in that kind of way. So it's always great to see him portray something like that. But whether Pat McAfee can become something like that will be interesting to see. This led us to Rhea Ripley versus Michin, which is obviously going to happen. Last week it was B-Fab. She's obviously competing against Jade Cargill at WrestleMania for the title. I think theoretically she should still win that match, considering the way the storyline is going. However, I do also understand if she doesn't win that match, this faction by Jade Cargill makes sense. And if Jade Cargill is to drop the belt now, it doesn't really make sense having the faction, because that's why the faction was pulled together, to consolidate around Jade Cargill's power. So it doesn't make sense for Jade Cargill to now lose. Before, I thought she was definitely going to lose, but now it doesn't necessarily make sense for Jade Cargill to lose, having had the faction. Because if she loses, the reason the two girls got behind her is because she has the title and she has all the power. So it made sense for them. If she then loses the belt, surely an implosion is imminent. So, Tama Tonga versus Uncle Howdy. I really like how Tama Tonga's coming up. I mean, I must say I didn't quite know who he was, in reference to the Bullet Club. Or not, I didn't know who he was. I didn't realize who he was. Exactly, because I can't say that I watched New Japan religiously. I can say I loved the rise of Finn Balor from junior heavyweight kind of moving into a bigger sphere within NJP, but I watched it historically. I can't say I watched it there and then at the time. So not realizing who Tama Tonga was is possible. I do now. He's always been a very interesting wrestler. He's always been a very, very interesting wrestler. And I think he's got possibility of stepping out of the shadow of the MFT, and I think that might be exactly what the WWE are aiming for. If you consider someone like Jacob Fatu, and how he did that, especially through Solo Sikoa's group. It'll be interesting to see what comes. If something comes of that before WrestleMania or after, I would have thought it would be family versus family at WrestleMania. However, the match still has not been set, and we are 2 weeks out. So that's very interesting to see. Not sure what's going to happen with that, if they're going to try and put that as an undercard match. But yeah, the match was won by Uncle Howdy, and it was won because of the interference of Solo Sikoa. Untidy as it was, I think it would seem that Solo Sikoa has taken on board what Tama Tonga has said to him. However, we don't quite know that yet. This will be revealed in later storyline telling. But for now, it all seems well with the MFTs. It isn't. How exactly are they going to put together the match with the Wyatt Six is what I want to know. And here's a question for you guys. Do we think the Wyatt Six is completely underutilized at the moment? Do we think that the Wyatt Six should be better utilized? Or is it because Bo and Bray are not the same people? Right? They're vastly different people. They are brothers, they share a kin, but they do not have the same type of, I don't want to say star power, but let's say gravitas. So are the Wyatt Six underutilized? So let's talk about the Sami Zayn segment that had Trick Williams in it. Trick Williams is really doing some special stuff at the moment. I like it. And it's very quickly that his villainy is turning into a draw, and people love him for his kind of villainy. I say when he took Sami Zayn's pyro, my guy, he took your pyro. He took your pyro. He took your pyro. Them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. He took your pyro. Stole your pyro. And then Trick Williams out there talking all types of smack. Slow down, Trick. Slow down, Trick. You act like you don't know Mello, because you should know Mello. Mello go Mello. It's Mello. Did you think you were going to say Mello's name and Mello wasn't going to come to the ring? Come on, brother. You know Mello. You know Mello. I will say, you kind of knew how this was going to end, and I kind of had an idea of what they were alluding to in the storyline. Something that has been done with other wrestlers. It doesn't seem to be working with Sami, though. I don't know what is missing from this, but the sheer fact, let's start with this. Sami Zayn should have never given Mello a rematch. No. I could understand if what happened in the match and Mello hurt himself during the match and Sami took advantage of that again, because I get what they're trying to go for as far as this Sami Zayn story. The Sami Zayn story is supposed to be that Sami Zayn is sick of getting passed over and now he's going to be a more vicious competitor. Good. It's a good idea. Here's where the mistake has been lying. First things first, no one wants to see Sami Zayn as the United States champion. It doesn't make sense. He's already held the US title. He's already held the Intercontinental title. These are junior heavyweight titles. Nobody wants to see him hold these titles again. At some point, right? And this is a weird thing to say. Not everybody thinks Sami Zayn should necessarily be WWE champ or Universal champ, but at some point you have to put that strap on him because that is the sphere he is essentially in. I understand that he bounces around, but it's just like he's wasted in this sphere of junior heavyweight, intercontinental, like he should just bomb around there. The best Sami Zayn you can get is the dude from the bloodline. The best Sami Zayn you can get is the dude with Kevin Owens. That's a dude competing for the highest prize. I'm not saying that he should perpetually be WWE champion. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he should perpetually be Universal Champion. I am not saying that. I'm not saying that every single year or every 2 years Sami Zayn's going to hold one. I say maybe 3 times in his career he might be world title, and that is a strong run. I think a little bit like Kofi Kingston. It's like, yeah, he can hold a whole lot of Universals and Intercontinental, but at some point you do have to put the big strap on him. That is the problem I think you are hearing from the fan base, is that it's tone deaf. He does not belong as a Universal Champion again. We saw that last year. We saw the Intercontinental title. Those are very close. We don't need to see that again. He needs the proper strap. He needs a proper storyline. Whether he holds it for 1 month or 2 doesn't really matter. You need to put that strap on him. And him bouncing around and taking opportunities from someone like Carmelo Hayes. Like, you have to think about it logically. The last United States champ was Carmelo Hayes. Sami Zayn took it from him. Are Sami Zayn and Carmelo Hayes in the same sphere? Because I wouldn't say they are. So I think no. I think it's tone deaf. I think the WWE aren't listening to the fans. The fans don't want him as with that title. The fans wanted to see Melo at Mania. They gave Melo the rematch. Melo hurt himself, and then Sami Zayn took advantage of the situation once again. If that's the case, and you want to show a darker side to Sami Zayn, he cannot be giving out rematches. He should have never gave the rematch. He should have said no, and he should have been overridden by Nick Aldis. That's what should have happened. He should have never willingly given Carmelo the match. That doesn't make sense. So now let's talk about a match that seemingly came from nowhere, but I think it's good for both competitors. I believe it solidifies a little bit more where Matt Cardona sits in the sphere of, let's say, from junior heavyweight to heavyweight again. And I like that he was competing against Aleister Black, because Aleister Black is, in a way, clearly, at least, he may not be going for the title at the moment, but he's clearly defined in a role of being in a heavyweight sphere. It's like when Aleister Black was around the last time for the WWE, he came up from NXT, amazing wrestler, but he never slotted straight into the kind of heavyweight sphere. This time is different. Now, I know he might be on the lower end of that, but at the very least, let's start with Matt Cardona there. Sorry. Let's, in the very least, start with Matt Cardona there, and not necessarily in the Intercontinental, not messing around with Kofi, not matches with Javon, none of that. Let's have him quite literally firmly placed in, let's say, the bottom of the heavyweight, and the guys can work, right? He's having matches with Randy. He's having matches with Drew. He's having matches with Jacob. He's having LA Knight. Do you know what I mean? That kind of sphere, because that sphere is quite wide now. So I quite like that. The idea that something was done for both competitors at a reasonable level. I kind of knew the way the trajectory of things are going at the moment that Aleister Black is most likely to win that. Say what you will, I think the WWE really do like Aleister Black, and they realize to a certain extent what they have with Aleister Black. They're just trying to transition that into something they can use. At the moment, that's looking very much like Karrion Kross and Scarlett type of deal, but I think at some point they will find it a little bit better, because I don't think Aleister Black, personally, as he is as a person, is tailored to that kind of style. I think there's more he can do, and I think he's better as a dark face than a heel. But it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Aleister Black has got his wife there, Zelina, at the moment, but I'm thinking at some point him, Damian Priest, and Rhea would make something amazing. But, I mean, maybe that's just the Judgment Day all over again with different members. What do you think? This brings us to Charlotte and Alexa tag team versus Lyra and Bayley. I thought it was a good match. It was always going to be a good match. As some of you may have realized, I've got me some love for Lyra. I think she's an absolutely amazing performer. And I'm noticing that she has the ability to sell on both. You know what I mean? She's able to do the work as a dominant wrestler, and she's able to sell very well, which is what the WWE are asking her to do mostly at the moment. She doesn't seem to be getting over as much as I think she should. At the beginning of her run, I think she may not necessarily have gotten over as much. However, the position the WWE were willing to put her in had her set as a person who clearly had a lot of skills and was going to go very far. It was just a matter of time. I think there's been a little bit of mishandling of her, but okay. The match would end in Charlotte and Alexa win. I don't think it made sense. I thought once again you should have had another interruption by Lash and Nia, which indeed they did, but it was at the end of the match after the bell had rung. I thought keeping Lyra and Bayley intact as far as going to the WrestleMania matches was probably a better idea. I think now it kind of tells us that they aren't going to win those titles. Or maybe they will because they're the ones getting run over. That's often the case with the WWE. It's kind of a misdirection. So, in that respect, understand that when you see Oba putting Brock on his ass every single week, that might not necessarily be a good thing because it's almost like a bait and switch. So, I wonder when it comes to Bayley and Lyra, but fantastic match. Really, really good match, actually. I was impressed with everyone in the match. I'm always impressed with Lyra and I'm always impressed with Bayley. Bayley's always, she's just, it's a little bit like Randy Orton, you know what I mean? Just made for the wrestling business year in, year out. They just follow the rules of the wrestling business. They almost could wrestle in any time period because they just love and follow and are molded and shaped in every way by the business. That they can just be the model of a consummately great performer. I think that's what Bayley is. I think you put that with Lyra, someone who works so hard, someone who has got so much talent. She's so powerful. She's so strong. She's so innovative. You put that together with Charlotte and Alexa. I've not necessarily been the greatest fan of Charlotte, but I know what we have. Alexa, I mean, we'll be here all day if I start talking about the platitudes of Alexa Bliss.
The evil is mine.
So let me just say, I love me some Alexa. So you put that together, you're always going to get a really, really, really strong match. And I think that's exactly what we've got. Which moves us to the section between Kit Wilson and The Miz. I will say this segment kind of was a bit of a saving grace to a show that wasn't the greatest show. It had some moments, but this segment was hilarious. And I bought in hook, line, and sinker. Let's go, Team Idiot. Let's go, Team Kayfabe. Right? Danhausen comes to the ring, accidentally curses the referee. The referee pulled a Charlie horse. Oh no. Oh no, referee, you've gone and pulled a Charlie horse in your, but only in your arm, not your leg. He's pulled a, never mind. In his arm. Oh dearie me. That was absolutely shocking. Go Team Kayfabe, as I said, go Team Kayfabe. And of course there was R-Truth in the ring, and you know, come on, Truth. Give him a Taghausen. Give Danhausen a Taghausen. Go idiots. Team Kayfabe. That would result in the tag team champions retaining the tag team titles. I am talking about, of course, R-Truth and Damian Priest versus The Miz and Kit Wilson. Fantastic match. Just fantastic match. Just fantastic match. Yeah, ending with the IC rematch, and we all know how that ended up. This brings us to my favorite moment of the show. It is the joke of the day, and for today's joke,
Holy shit.
talk about a botch. Jesus. If you like the content, please hit like, subscribe, hit the notification button. It lets you know when I'm uploading next. And until then, I've been the Triple Crown Champ. Don't botch any moves on anyone. I'll see you next time.